A judge is pushing back on the Trump administration's assertion that mass firings at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services were lawful. During a preliminary injunction, the administration says the move was intended to improve national health. Now a U.S. judge is criticizing what she called the absence of a clear explanation for Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy's directive that abruptly fired 10,000 employees last March. Now we bring in Chief Legal Analyst Colleen Frodes to break this down. One of the things that jumped out of me is that even RFK said that he knew at least 20% of these terminations would be mistakes even before they were executed. He also agreed that he skipped a careful line-by-line review of who should be fired because it would have been arbitrary and capricious and would lost some political momentum.
Yeah, what I can tell you is I don't know how we're here right now. And in the last administration, this is the type of thing that they did in the last Trump administration.
Right.
It's where they were just throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what would stick. This new rendition of the administration, at least, even if you don't agree with the policies that they're implementing, seem to be strategic, seem to be more trying to flank and move forward at the same time, as opposed to just throw it all at it and see if one of them hits the target. But this is kind of echoing in the first administration's approach. Yeah, I'm just going to get rid of everybody and figure it out. I mean, he said that his directive was what? Make America healthy again, and that's the directive that fires 10,000 people. Well, 10,000 people, it's going to be hard for them to be healthy if they don't have a job and can't play for their kids to go to school, to work, to eat, to take care of themselves. So the types of things that were implemented here were quick, and he's admitting that yeah, it was a rush, that I did just fire folks wholeheartedly, that I didn't look line by line, and that's kind of what will be required. But even if you did all of that, the major question that's needed to be asked, and this is what the states that have brought these lawsuits have said, is that does the executive branch have the right to fire these folks in this manner without congressional authority? We all know that these directives are coming from President Trump if its goal is to reduce the workforce of the federal government. But if these jobs are already earmarked by Congress, then yes, are you in essence removing this agency that Congress has established? That has been the main question. And when you look at the hearing, the judge wasn't satisfied with any of the answers that she received from the administration.
So where does this go from here? Because there are several of these in front of different courts, some being escalated to the Supreme Court. Where does the president even have the authority to do the layoffs that he's looking to do? I know he wants to cut fraud and waste and all that, but does he even have the authority?
I mean, that's the question. And I mean, you asked, where does it lead? All roads lead to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
If you have a Supreme Court where you've nominated a number of folks on there, you believe, if I'm representing Trump, that you believe that your best place for success is going to that court. Now, and I believe that these judges or justices would be independent and judicial and do their job and not bring any political bias into the courtroom. But we've seen some of these rulings that seem to tend to lead to be politically motivated as opposed to being based on the precedent in the past or the facts that are currently in front of the court. So in this situation where you have multiple rulings from different judges or multiple decisions, conflicting decisions is what you're looking for. So if you have one judge that's allowing it to stay and then you have another judge that's stopping it in its tracks, that's what the Supreme Court's looking to see, and that's the type of case that they will want to entertain, and it has that underlying thing that we've talked about before. It has injunctions, these nationwide injunctions. So the issue of can district court judges, United States district court judges, implement these nationwide injunctions, that's going to be the ultimate question that they'll have to answer. And they've been dodging that question for a long time, they as in the Supreme Court. So once they answer that question, it will have a rippling effect on how justice is implemented. If you're wronged by something that the federal government does, if they rule against nationwide injunctions, now you have to go to your individual court and file your own claim. And now if I'm in Texas, I'll have to go file my claim. And if I'm in New York, I'll have to file my claim. I think that would be problematic to the way justice has normally been. If it's something that affects the whole, any court that is brought in, that injunction can be for the nationwide. So I think that's going to be a problem going forward, but it leads to the Supreme Court, and hopefully they will be able to address this so we can stop having conflicting rules by judges.
Oh, that would be a lot less for us to talk about, but I'm sure we'd find something else. Again, our Chief Legal Analyst, Colleen Frodes, breaking that down for us. I should also add a newly awarded Regional Murrow winner. Khalif, thank you.